In 1822, the Jewish poet Heinrich Heine wrote, "Where they burn books, they will, in the end, burn human beings too." Over a century later, his books were burned by the Nazis. It is no coincidence that a wave of anti-LGBT rhetoric, legislation, and book bans have preceded a rise in hate crimes against LGBT people. Men like Governor DeSantis of Florida have openly imitated Putin by pushing through anti-LGBT legislation applying in public schools. A wave of book bans has been spread, first in Florida and now across the country, by an anti-LGBT hate group called Moms for Liberty. Last month, 5 people were murdered in a hate crime at an LGBT plus nightclub in Colorado Springs. On November 30th, 5 days ago, the Department of Homeland Security warned that there's a heightened threat of domestic terrorism against LGBT people. This rise in targeted violence was incited by people like Ron DeSantis and Tucker Carlson. Many of the same tropes that fomented that violence were repeated on signs I saw all around me at the October 10th meeting before it was canceled. Every time I speak here, I gamble with my life. Every time I hold a man's hand in public, I gamble with my life. Every time I take joy in being who I am in public, or feel catharsis from speaking truth to power here, I run the risk of winning the Powerball of death, of being murdered just for being gay. But I still fight. I fight for parents who fear their children will be targeted in school if they speak out against book bans. I fight for students who fear what their parents will do to them if they speak out here. I fight for librarians who are being pressured by administrators to just ban something to appease an angry mob. I fight for everyone who no longer feels safe at these meetings because of the moral cowardice of this board. I fight to remind this school board that students first means that the well-being of students comes before parental rights. To all my allies watching from home, help me build an LGBT resource center here in Dearborn. Help me start the first Pride Parade in the city's history. Tell your state legislators to pass protections against censorship. Reach out to the ACLU. If the board won't protect LGBT youth from an angry mob, we'll do it without them.
Next, Cliff Alawi from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about books. Cliff Alawi? You don't want to speak? Okay. Next, Mr. Hassan Ayoun. Mr. Ayoun, when you come, you didn't fill out what city. Can you just state which city for us? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mr. Berry, do me and you are on Facebook? Can you please start the 3 minutes?
Address the chair, please.
Okay, Mr. Berry's on my Facebook. I gave him this letter right here. He indicated today about the fire marshal. Nobody called the fire marshal. A FOIA request was made. Ms. Roxanne, you addressed the gentleman to come over here to speak on the mic. You opened the mic for him. I just want to know, why was that? Who is in charge of the school board? The gentleman? You? Who? That's my question here. Who is the person that said they called 911 for the overcapacity? It says right here, does not exist. Under 15.231 as amended. Does anybody know? You caused the chaos in here. Because of you, this started. I asked you where the capacity was. You didn't tell me where the capacity was, how much the capacity was. After public comment, you wanted to tell us as a fire hazard. It claims right here, the police were not called for overcapacity. The fire marshal was not called. Who is going to be responsible for this right here? If a student called and made a false call, would they get arrested? Yes, they would. You made false accusations on Channel 4 saying, we're closing this meeting because there's a fire hazard. Is the fire marshal called? It's right here. It's right here, from Dearborn Police. And who? Corporal King. FOIA request. I got the body cam too. If you guys want to see the body cam, I'll produce the body cam to you. Can somebody answer who is going to get charged for making false accusations? That's what I want to know. Who's the person that's going to get charged with a crime? You guys caused a chaos for the public. If it wasn't for you guys addressing somebody else to speak and opening a mic, this would never happened. Does anybody else get special treatment? Does the person work here that addressed the board? No. If one of you board members addressed it, maybe this one have never happened. If you have brought the capacity and showed us from the beginning of the meeting. I'm not understanding. Who is going to be held responsible? That's all I want to know, Rickson. Who is going to be held responsible for this? It's right there, black and white.
Next.
My 3 minutes are up. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next, Stephanie Butler would like to come to speak to the board about books.
Okay, so as you can see, there's some pretty uncomfortable posters on either side of me. And this was done for a reason. And if you guys can't look at it, if the camera can't look at it, tell me why you voted to keep This Book is Gay on the shelves. Here is a piece from This Book is Gay. Here is a piece from This Book is Gay. Honest to God, sit there and look at these posters and tell me that this book belongs on the shelf. Honestly, common sense. So, you know, I don't like reading, read last time, but since we voted to keep this book, I'm going to read from this book. Blowies. Oral sex is popping another dude's peen in your mouth, or indeed popping yours in his. There is only one hard and fast rule when it comes to blowjobs. Watch the teeth. Lip and tongue, yes. Teeth, no. As with hand jobs and breakfast eggs, all men like their blowjobs served in different ways. The term blowjob is massively misleading, as you won't actually be blowing on his penis. Please turn my microphone on. It's off.
It's on.
You won't actually be blowing on his penis. It's more about sucking. Can I, this mic,
It's
it's not working.
It's on.
Okay. It's more about sucking, although I stress you're not trying to suck his kidneys out through his urethra. It's more about sliding your mouth up and down the shaft of his cock. Letting a guy come in your mouth is a safe sex no-no. Get away from the volcano before it erupts. Bumming. It is a universal truth that many men like sticking their willies inside things. I suspect it must be biological. While in the absence of a vagina, gay and bi men make excellent use of the back door. Want to know a secret? Straight people have anal sex all the time too. Straight men like stuff up their bums just as much as gay ones. Why? As mentioned before, the prostate gland, located just up your bum, feels amazing when massaged. Lots of men, gay or straight, like how this feels. Anal sex isn't a gay thing. Still, unlike vaginal sex, a little more thought has to go into anal sex, and here's why. And then it goes into talking about lube and all these other things. As uncomfortable it is for me to stand here and read this, and as uncomfortable as I see your faces, tell me why this book belongs. It is a sex manual. This book would not have helped this gentleman back here with the incident that he talked about last time. This book is a guide teaching you. It has nothing to do with anything else except for how to. How to. Why? Why did we vote to keep this book on? Please. Somebody. How is this representing the LGBT youth community? Do they want to be represented as a bunch of like sexual deviants, or it's all about sex?
Thank
No,
you.
They're kids too.
Next,
Thank you.
Mr. Mike Hashem would like to come to speak to the board about books.
Good evening, board members. Mike Hashem here. There's two things I want to start off with. We talked about a citizen earlier that this body addressed that sort of what I feel was thrown under the bus, basically, by this whole board. From what I seen, and obviously what the camera's seen, and there's body cam footage, this person was approached to calm the crowd down. This person came to you, Ms. Roxanne, along with another Dearborn Public School employee, and got the green light from you to go ahead and address the crowd. And on top of that, his microphone was turned on. So that tells me, why are we trying to throw the blame on others when this board up here should be the one to carry the full responsibility of the actions of that day? First of all, there was nothing that was preventing this body from doing its normal business. You guys knew there was going to be a large capacity. We all have WhatsApp, we all have Facebook, and obviously the Dearborn Public Schools, they have enough intelligence out there to know what's going on in the community. The second thing I want to point out is about the LGBT community. This is not about the LGBT community, as some are trying to portray. Us Muslims, especially in Dearborn, we respect everyone in this country. Whoever is going to stand up here and say that we're harassing the LGBTQ community, well, guess what? You have Muslims that are gay. Do you see Muslims harassing gay Muslims? Absolutely not. Not in this town. And if we're going to sit here and portray that, let me tell you, you have law enforcement that's capable of going and taking action. And with all the love that we have for our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community, that should never be an excuse. If they have anything, I will personally protect them. But one thing is, the same respect we give others is the respect that the Muslim community should earn in this country and in this city. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Hassan Nemi would like to come to speak to the board. Next, Khalil Atman would like to come to speak to the board from Dearborn about books.
Hello, good evening. I just want to address one thing related to the process and the guidelines. I'm looking at your website and the guidelines in here. This is the process that you guys posted online for reviewing or selecting the books. And one of the points that you guys highlighted is similar to the other points, the educational significance for each of these books that are being reviewed. And to me, we keep coming to the meetings month after month, but we're not getting any answers. Some of the parents ask for a town hall. At least we will have respectful discussions to see where you guys are coming from, what are like the process, the thinking that you guys have to remove or keep these books. But apparently we are being forced to follow this process, which is fine. As a parent, I want to know what is the at least a fair request, what is the educational significance from all these books that you elect to keep on the shelves? There were about 10 or 12 challenged books. You guys removed 3 and you kept 9. So at least for the 9, based on the media specialist reviews, can you provide what is the educational significance for each of these books? At least we can see what process or what review they went through, why they were convinced these books should stay on the shelves for our students. Thank you.
Next, Abdul Nasser would like to come to speak to the board about books. When you come, can you let us know what city you're from, please? Okay, thank you.
Hi, Don. Uh, last month, I requested from Mr. Berry the review process of the criteria for the book selection, and he sent it to me. Thank you. I'm looking for the section where it says specific criteria for material selections. What I'm seeing here for those, it's just a bullet points. It's like one word: readability, clear representation and format, educational significance, need and value to the collection, accuracy, permanent value. The question I'm asking, cannot be a guideline. If you work for a boss that knows his job, he will fire the guy who wrote this process. Because I can't just go, okay, clear presentation and format. Explain what that to me. If your process doesn't have those content, then how we can know exactly what we're dealing with? If I'm looking for the need and the value to the collection, and there is no explanation of what you guys mean by this. I'm an engineer, so I do expect to read this and then understand what you guys mean. But I don't know what you guys talking about here. It's just a bullet point. Someone just like spent 10 minutes and just wrote these points. Is there any checklist those books go through? Like, if you see readability, there has to be a checklist. How you define this criteria, this section? Readability, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't see this. That's why we're coming here all the time. They went through 11 books or 12 books, and they said 3 of them will be banned, and the rest will be, brought back to the shelves. But the question is based on what? As a parent, don't know what is the process. You guys kept telling us there is a process. You guys improved it, and some other district will use it. But there is actually no process. I come back, this is my 3rd time speaking, and I'm talking the same point. It's like, okay, there is a process, but is this the process that you guys talk about, or there is another process? If this is a process, cannot be a process. Cannot be a process that we used to decide what book goes and what our kids will be taught every, in their schools. Plus, there is another thing that's, I know my time is, I know the last month there is a 3rd grader, like, on 3rd grade in McDonald's school, a teacher gave a book, Is He Gay, to 3rd grade students to write a summary about it. And then I don't know I'm pretty sure you guys know about it, but no one has said a word about it.
Next speaker will be Marion Mortada from Dearborn. She wants to speak on the agenda behind sexually explicit books in public schools. Hello, I'm a grandmother. I want to talk about the bigger picture here. The bigger picture here is that the World Economic Forum supports the LGBTQ community. And the LGBTQ community should wonder why the World Economic Forum supports them. And the World Economic Forum also supports the Education International, pushing teachers' unions into the 4th Industrial Revolution. For nearly 100 years, the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, the 2 largest teachers' unions in the United States, have cozied up to corporate foundations such as the Rockefeller Philanthropies and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, along with multinational technology companies, including IBM and Microsoft, after almost a century of cutting side deals with Robert Barron's and tech barons alike. The AFT and the NEA are now parroting the Gates Foundation's Reimagine Education campaign, which is being buoyed by the World Economic Forum and the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Altogether, the AFT, the NEA, the WF, the UNESCO are all reimagining a new post-human education system as they simultaneously push for ed tech overhauls, as documented in my investigation series, Teach No Crossy. These overhauls seek to privatize public schools through their partnerships with big tech corporations that facilitate online distance learning to accommodate indefinite classroom health restrictions in a post-COVID world. In fact, the AFT and the NEA are tethered to the WF and UNESCO through an entity known as Education International. EI is a global union federation, GUF, that combines 383 member organizations, including the AFT and the NEA, and collaborates with the WEF and UNESCO as the intermediary between America's teachers unions and the WEF and UNESCO. EHI has been galvanizing the AFT and the NEA into conformity with the reimagined ed tech agendas of these global governance institutions. Now, I'm not going to read any further from this, but I think people should be very concerned about how corporations and world organizations such as the WEF are taking over our educations, and I'm pretty sure that these books are connected to this. And we should be looking into this. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next, Dennis Duggan from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about appreciation, support, and declaration of trust in the Dearborn Board of Education.
Thank you, Board, for time before you. I was here at that October meeting, and I had come early enough because I have to have a seat. I'm old enough to have had polio, so my spirit is young, but my legs are 75 years old with polio problems. So I'm just going to start right there with a moment of gratitude, because in the midst of my theological degree, looking up at those signs and saying, oh, God is being misused again. I dislike when God is so misused to clout other people, and there was a lot of it there. But those same folks, when all of the chaos started and I was falling and people reached out their arms, their hands, their shoulders and everything, they got me. So I say thank you. If you were here and helped me out, or you're home and you helped me out, that was terrific. Now I'm going to speak in a little bit of metaphor, so I drive right brain people crazy. So here I go. I'm 75. My sister that I love is 73. She won't talk to me right now. And it's troubling. And so I give it a lot of thought to it. She sees the world as a 25-piece puzzle. She was a police officer, and she's very precise and very noted. She sees it very simple. It's this or it's that. I'm a philosopher. I have theology degrees. I see many questions, much gray, much more gray than I do black and white. I want to affirm this board for the fact that you're taking the noble road of pulling this discussion up higher. My sister is, she's not a fanatic. I won't call her a noun. She's not a noun, but she's fanatical. And if I can say that of my sisters, I can also say that of my neighbors. There's some fanatical things going on here. Not noun, just activity. And I just say, I think the board has gone to the cutting edge of the question. You've accepted the challenge. You're willing to work with it reasonably and rationally, and I applaud you for it. The world doesn't have enough trust. I trust you, and I want you to know that. I trust you. Thank you.
Next, Jane Mazza would like to come to speak to, from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about thank you to staff.
Good evening, School Board President Roxanne McDonald, Joanne Harrison, Dr. Milenko. Jane Mazza, Dearborn Federation of Teachers President. I just wanted to get up once more and thank all of our hardworking staff. I appreciate the extra time and support that the staff has given all of our students at Dearborn High. excuse me, Dearborn Public Schools, Dearborn High, Etzel, Fordson, and Michael Berry. Can't leave any of them out, and all their feeders. It's important, though, for us to remember that as a public school, we teach all students, and our staff make sure that each and every student feels supported and safe in our schools. And that is one of our most important missions that we need to do every day. So at this time, I'd like to hope that we all have a wonderful new year, that it brings us all happy and healthy events for 2023. And I want to thank the board for the work they've done too. Good night.
I have 2 additional blue cards, and I will read from them. Nasser Al-Awawi from Dearborn, he just said, I do not wish to speak to the board, but just would like the following comment. He would just like a copy of the budget sent to his email. And lastly, Hussein Galan does not wish to speak to the board, but he has a statement that I will read. My name is Hussein Galan. Like any other city or state in America, the school board and the mayor have the authority to make decisions. Our city of Dearborn is 90% Muslim and conservative in terms of values and morals. So respect for the Dearborn families and make firm decisions to remove sexually explicit or violent content books from our schools. I am following the majority of city leader in America, as well as the majority of city residents for all different communities, and their position was clear and explicit that they were against homosexual books and made, I'm sorry, I can't read it, decisions not to be in schools. School board member, be hero today, make decision, remove the dirty book from school. Thank you. Next, action items.